Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to OAA Now. I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger of the Dragon's Den and one of the hosts of Between Taorminas here on ON TV. I'd like to thank ON TV Studios for letting me do the show called OAA Now. We got a lot of topics to talk about today. First, we'd like to give some congratulations out to some certain teams. Of course, the Birmingham Seahome girls golf team winning the Division II, tennis team, winning the Division II state championship in tennis. Like to give my congratulations to the Maples for winning that. Also like to give a special congratulations to the runner-ups in girls golf, the Lake Orion Dragons, who also won. Interesting there. And we got a couple teams that are in for soccer. You got Clarkson, Oxford, Bloomfield Hills. And looking at it here, Bloomfield Hills, of course, beating Berkeley on penalty kicks 3-2. But, what's going on in the sport here that I've been more intrigued on, that's football. We had a couple nice games. A couple teams that did some damage over the weekend. We got first one we're going to go is, of course, Oxford clinching a playoff spot, knocking out Bloomfield Hills 35-14. That was kind of expected. Birmingham Seahome, the upset of the tournament, the upset last week was Southfield Lathrop beating Berkeley 2017. It's a huge win for Keith Stevens, no doubt. When you look at that game, Berkeley, they've had an emotional win 2 weeks ago when they knocked off Groves. But when you look at the Bears, the Berkeley Bears, no doubt, in the last 3 games, Berkeley has done, this is a game where they should have won. And Southfield Lathrop, give credit to Coach Keith Stevens and Devontae Harris for what he did at quarterback. I think Keith Stevens has turned this team around. They've made it to the right progress. There's no doubt right now that Southfield Lathrop is a team on the rise. They're going to be looking up, and they got a shot, I think, this weekend when they play Westland John Glenn. Don't forget the Westland John Glenn's still fighting for a playoff spot, and I think Southfield Lathrop's going to give them problems. That's a huge, if they beat Westland John Glenn to close out their season up on a high note, it's going to give them some upside, especially heading into next year when the Chargers are going to be one of the teams I think that could do some damage next year. Teams, of course, Farmington beating Groves 24-20. That was kind of a shock for me seeing that what happened to Farmington. Farmington, of course, now they're the outright blue champions, and now they're going to likely head to the playoffs, probably a high seed, but in Division II. But you got to deal with teams like Harrison, Birmingham Brother Rice, Southfield, or Oak Park if they go in there. I look like it's going to be more and more that they're going to probably see either Harrison or Birmingham Brother Rice in the playoffs. With Farmington, they got a tough game this week with Wall Lake Central. Wall Lake Central is not going to be an easy team, no doubt about that. When you look at the Vikings, they beat Grand Blanc. They put Grand Blanc on the edge. Now they're sitting. Grand Blanc and Northville play each other this week, and that's gonna be a very interesting game right there. A team outside of the OA, I'm very surprised, to see. First time that they're not going to make the playoffs since 2006 is Novi Detroit Catholic Central. They were blown out 31-8 by Warren De La Salle on the Boys Bowl on Sunday. It's going to be an interesting off season for Coach Tom Mock and his Shamrocks. But you kind of expect this has been the year that a lot of powerhouse teams have been not very good, especially in Oakland County. When you look at most likely got Novi Detroit Catholic Central, Lake Orion, and Rochester Adams. They might miss the playoffs. Orion and Adams are both 4-4, but we'll go over Orion in about 20 minutes or so. But when you look at the surroundings of the playoffs, especially in Division I, Division II, I said before the season started that Oak Park was going to be a very dangerous team, even though they lost 20-16 to Southfield. That still doesn't mean that the Knights are going to be a force to reckon with. I think Oak Park's going to have a very nice seed in the playoffs. I think that Oak Park's a better team than Birmingham Brother Rice, and that's probably saying a lot of things because a lot of people in Oakland County are going to say, well, Birmingham Brother Rice is going to win Division II. They're going to repeat. I don't think they're going to repeat. There's no doubt. I don't think they will. I mean, like, I still think Oak Park can beat them. I think when you look at them, teams like Southfield, I think they got a shot at beating. They got a Division I backfield. I mean, like, I think they'll test Alex Malzone if they play him. But looking at it here, I think Oak Park, is one of the favorites in Division II. But also, if they move Muskegon to Division II, that could be possible. You know what I mean? It could be possible there. Another team I've been very impressed with, the last few weeks has been Ferndale. Eric Royal's done a very nice job. Yeah, they whipped Hazel Park 50-14, and it's not likely they're going to get in a playoff spot. But they got to go. They have a tough match with Almont coming up. They sit 4-4. The Eagles, but it's a good start for year one for Eric Royal. He's done a magnificent job with the Eagles team. They're not deep at all, but it's something to build on, especially for next year for Ferndale. When you look at the Eagles, it is unique. There are a couple teams in my mind that should move down. When you look at it here, I mean, one of those teams obviously is Royal Oak, and Royal Oak had no business being in the white altogether, especially because they've been very much whipped all season by virtually everybody, including Rochester. Rochester actually went and beat them up pretty bad. So I think, it wouldn't surprise me at the OA meetings that Tim Chapman will and his team will go down, So in other news here, interesting report coming out of Farmington today that Terrence Porter is now back at Farmington. A lot of people said that he was supposed to leave Detroit Northwestern. Apparently, it did not work itself out, and now he's back at Farmington. I think it was a smart move for Porter to come back for boys basketball to play at Farmington. The coach at Farmington, he's done a magnificent job building that program up there. I think when you look at Farmington, he'll be one of the favorites in the blue. Yeah. I think that's the division they're in. I think Farmington's in the gold, but I better take a look at my stats and all that. But Farmington's going to be all right this year, especially when you look at the Falcons. But it is what it is when you look at it here. I think Terrence Porter being back at Farmington helps out. I think he's got a better community atmosphere over there. If he went to Detroit Northwestern, it would have just been, I don't know what it would have been over there for him. But I think it's a good move that Terrence Porter stays in the OA. He knows the league very well. He used to be an assistant at Groves under Bill Norton when he was there. But it is a very nice move to look at it here. And that's my boys basketball news of the day right there. I don't know the girls basketball situation over at Farmington yet. Nor the girls basketball coaching situation over at Rochester Adams. I know they named a coach, but I don't think they've had a name yet. I'll probably get some info from Adams on Friday when Lake Orion goes to Adams in football. She'll have a very good team over there. There's no doubt about that. But it is what it is. Looking at it, when you also look at some other games around the area, some games coming up that are going to be. I'll make my picks later on, but Clarkston, of course. Is Clarkston? A lot of people have asked me about Clarkston. Is the Wolves better than last year? And the answer is no. I thought the Wolves took advantage of their offense is very good. They have a very good wide receiver. And Austin Andrews had a big night against Lake Orion's very bad defense. And I'm gonna admit this defense Lake Orion had was very, very bad, and they didn't play well in that game against Clarkson at all. But you got to give credit to DJ Zulu and his Wolves. But the problem with Clarkson, looking at them next year, they could struggle. They're playing a lot of guys right now, yes, but they're going to be very, very young next year, and that schedule ain't going to help them, especially when you got to play Macomb, Dakota next year on the road. You got to play, you're going to have Lake Orion, Oxford at home. You got to go to West Bloomfield. That's not going to be an easy game, for Clarkson. And also you don't know how the mindset of their defense is going to be, especially with a lot of people. This is a senior lane team. But when I wrote my blog about Clarkson and Lake Orion, I think Clarkson and Lake Orion is in two different stratospheres right now. Clarkson's kind of progressed. Lake Orion's kind of degressed. I'll mention that in about a few minutes right there. But a team that's had a really special season this year. Of course, got to give props to is Ronald Bellamy. He's been on the hot seat so much at West Bloomfield. I mean, he's got Michael King and Tristan Jackson. This is a team, and this could be a dark horse team heading in the state playoffs. When you look at the Lakers, I mean, they got a defense. They're led by Eddie Wilson. Eddie Wilson's a beast on the defensive line. Of course, they've had 2 big wins over Lake Orion and Oxford, combined 67-0 in both those games. That's just brutal enough to say right there. I think, if West Bloomfield and Clarkson are paired in the same district for the football playoffs, I would take my chances if I'm the White Lakers knocking off the Wolves because, I think that you can attack Clarkson's defense. Clarkson's defense is not the greatest. You got to have both a rushing attack and a passing attack do that. West Bloomfield clearly has that. I know West Bloomfield's going to get tested this week, especially when they got to play Southfield. And that could be a very interesting game right there. I mean, like, when I look at that game, when they played Clarkson, that 54-41 loss, they have Eddie Wilson that game. I think West Bloomfield wins that game. There's no doubt about it, And then I look at, speaking of the playoffs, I have the playoff projectional maps right here. I mean, like, looking at playoff points, you know what I mean? There's a couple teams that are going to be praying to get in this week in the OAA. Of course, you got Orion is one of those teams sitting at 4-4. They got 50.7 points right now. When I look at it here, if they beat Adams, I still think they have an outside shot. They need a lot of help from the state, from the rest of the state. Because you got to look at teams that are playing each other this week. Got Grand Blanc playing Northville. Romeo playing Utica Eisenhower. Of course, Grand Ledge playing Holt. Waterford Mock Groves. You got Fraser playing Sterling Heights. West Ottawa, of course, they're going to be playing. West Ottawa plays Rockford this week. And then you got Hudsonville playing Granville. Those are not going to be easy games. You know what I mean? For those teams trying to get in. You got Westland, John Glenn, Southfield, Lathrop. That's not going to be an easy game either. But there's like a lot of teams that are trying to get in the playoffs. When I look at a team that a couple teams that are vulnerable this week, I think Westland, John Glenn's vulnerable. I think Fraser could be vulnerable. And then also, I think whoever loses Grand Lake Northville, I think's vulnerable. That's something that you look at with those teams. I mean, like, if they get in the playoffs. So I think there's an outside shot for some of these teams. But into the OA perspective, you got 3 teams, got Lake Orion, Adams, and Stony Creek. Stony Creek right now does not look good right now, 4-4. Even they got 50.6 right now in the playoffs. Adams is looking worse at 49.1. Adams, they got to basically beat Lake Orion and hope for the best. Stony Creek, I don't know. They'll beat Rochester. There's no doubt I think they'll beat Rochester. But I don't know if Stony Creek has enough to get in the playoffs. And then it all comes down to Lake Orion. You know what I mean? Like, the Dragons, of course, they got Adams this week. I talked to Keith Dunlap. He says Lake Orion does not have enough points to get in, even if they do. I mean, like, but when I look at Lake Orion, I don't know what to say about this team, being honest with you. This team has not been very good. You know what I mean? This is probably one of the worst Lake Orion teams I've seen in a long time. It's even since 2002. When the Dragons, from the years of 2002 to probably about my junior year, Lake Orion had a lot of big guys. A lot of big guys. You know what I mean? They were physical. Defensively, they were finesse, And throughout the years of 2004 to about 2012, you know what I mean? I would consider Lake Orion to have a very, very... They were small, but they had a physical defense. They had a good defense, you know what I mean? Each of those years, probably 2007, probably 2011, my bad, it wasn't very good, but it was very talented. You know what I mean? They still had athletes to do that defense. And then you look at the team this year, especially with the 2 defenses in 2013, 2014. I'll bet you 2014, it's got to be the worst defense I've ever seen in my life. I mean, like, and also offensively, this team is, so one-dimensional, it's not even funny. I mean, like, I thought in their 2 home games when they played West Bloomfield, and we'll go over Lake Orion in about a minute here, but I got a lot to say about Lake Orion. I mean, like, but to the other leagues, other games, you got, of course, Hazel Park getting blown out again, 50-14 by Ferndale. They got a tough match with Grosse Ile coming up. You got to look at and then, of course, you got Harrison, who's rolling. They got sentenced. Instead of having to play the third best team in there, you got to play. You got to basically play the top ranked team in the state, which is Clarkston, because Southfield beat Oak Park 2016. If Oak Park would have beat Southfield, then it would have been Southfield would have been playing Clarkston. Then Harrison would have been playing West Bloomfield, and Southfield would have been playing Oxford. I mean, that would have been the matchups, but unfortunately for Harrison, they got to play Clarkson. West Bloomfield plays Southfield, and Oxford and Oak Park will play Oxford. You know what I mean? It's something that it's an interesting matchup when looking at Oxford Oak Park. I mean, Oak Park's 0-8 all time against Oxford. That senior class over there at Oak Park, they've had some bad luck when having to deal with the Wildcats. I mean, power game. I mean, it's not going to be an easy game, but we'll see what happens coming up over there. And then, of course, you got Troy Athens. Of course, a lot of people had a lot of hype about this year. They were not very good at all this year, and they've been a disappointment this year. I mean, you lose a very good senior quarterback in Alex Massat, who, of course, he transferred in from Troy. I remember that. And then he had a very nice career, I thought, at Troy Athens, football career over there. But they did get a nice win last week, knocking off their arch rival from Troy, 21-17. That was a huge win for the Red Hawks, especially because they've had a very tough season. But it's part of the game. You know what I mean? It is really part of the game when you look at it here. When you look at these matches here significantly, I mean, it's tough to do. You know what I mean? It's very tough to do. All right, folks, when we come back here, we're going to talk about Lake Orion football and do they have a chance to get in the playoffs here on OAA Now.
We own a Habitat home.
I love working on my Habitat home.
Soy dueño de una casa de Habitat.
My neighbor is a Habitat homeowner.
Being a Habitat homeowner has changed our lives.
My mortgage payment for Habitat is less than what I pay for rent.
Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County currently has homes available with mortgage payments lower than most rent payments. If you or someone you know needs decent and affordable housing, call 248-338-1843 or visit our website at habitatoakland.org.
Welcome back to OAA Now. Sammy Taormina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, and also one of the hosts of Between Taorminas on O1 TV. Trying to get a website going here. Hoping we can get one soon. We can have viewers ask questions to me. I mean, especially with your OAA team, especially with the area coming up. I mean, we got girls basketball season coming up, boys basketball season. We got winter sports coming up, and that's gonna be very interesting, especially on the boys front. Hearing a couple things. Clarkson's got a interesting transfer for boys basketball, and then got a lot of transfer talk. We'll talk about that in the next couple weeks. But we're gonna first want to talk about Lake Orion football. I don't know what to say about this team because when looking at this team, a lot of expectations lingered around Lake Orion. No doubt about it. But everybody knew this was going to be a down year, for the Dragons. A lot of people knew. The schedule, though, was brutal when I look at it here. They only had 3 home games to start the year. They only had 3 home games. When I look at the schedule and they played Chippewa Valley week 1, that was going to be tough. You know what I mean? But also, there was some game. That was a game they should have won that one. Oxford was another one they should have won that one. But, it is what it is. But let's look at I got some major questions for the football program and the state of the football program. A lot of people say this team's young. Yeah, they're young. There's no doubt of it's young. But when I look at this team here, they got no one to blame but themselves for sitting at 4-4. They were destroyed by West Bloomfield, destroyed by Clarkston. They were just completely overmatched by both those teams. And now they sit this situation. Their defense has been completely terrible. I can't even explain it. When I look at this team, ever since Derek Williams left this team, he graduated, went to Eastern Michigan. This team really has had no linebackers. You know what I mean? Like, really, no middle linebacker, no dominant force that could be a very special player. Since he left, but and that's something you got to build within the program. And I don't know if when I look at Lake Orion, when I look at this team, I don't know if it makes sense to basically play. You got to have a very, very good sophomore class. I don't understand why Orion's got 11 sophomores up in varsity. I just don't understand that. You got to. I think personally, this is just my opinion. You got to basically have everybody play with their class. You know what I mean? I think that would have made perfect sense. It doesn't ruin the chemistry. It doesn't ruin the momentum swing of having. If you play with your class, you know what I mean? I know Lake Orion and Rochester Adams are both very, very young teams, but when looking at this, looking at the state of the program, I think right now Lake Orion's at a regressing stage. Because this team's had some struggles. This season. When you look at those two games that they lost to Chippewa Valley and Oxford, those are games they could have won. But this class, this senior class has really, really struggled. It's hard to say. Now a lot of people are going to say, well, why were they 7-2 last year? The reason why I'm saying that right now, because most of that senior class, they carried them. That year. This class is and they got some talent. Matt Krause is a heck of a player. He should be going Division I. Should be playing Division I football somewhere. But basically, I'm saying right now is that this class, they haven't been good. You know what I mean? They just have not been good, and it showed in that Clarkson game. You know what I mean? That this team does not prevent coverage well. They don't play defense to the way that I expect them to be. But when I look at Lake Orion, normally this is a program that's known for their defense. Dave Tooley is one of the best defensive coordinators in the state. And to see that this team's got no defense at all, they can't even, they're not physical. I understand there's injuries. Justin Cathers is out, Drew Casey's out, Mike Jarvis is out, John Luby's out. But that's not an excuse. It's always this next one up. When you look at it, that's one thing that I'm very pretty much baffled is I don't know if these are good kids, but when I look at it here, this is a struggling class, and I think next year's gonna be much better for this team. But defensively, the last 2 years, this has not been a good defense. Last year they allowed 24.2 points a game. I think this year it's more because who they played and who they've struggled against. There's no doubt about it when you look at it. And then, of course, let's go offensively. Of course, the problem that I have with this team, no doubt, this is a one-dimensional offense. It's everything run, run, run. You can't be a one-dimensional offense in this league. You got to develop a basic run-pass decision-making. You got a good quarterback in the future, I think, in Max Hornifer, who's going to be a very good quarterback next year. This next year. I think he's the guy. He's got a good decision-making. You know what I mean? He's a good decision-maker. I think the problem with this team is, I think it's the problem with this program is, you don't have that true wide receiver the outside. And that's a problem. When you look at the teams that are very good every year, you have to have at least a deep threat to keep people honest. Lake Orion has not had that in the last 2 seasons. I don't know what it is with this team. It's unfortunate to see that, with all the talent that Lake Orion has, that this team cannot develop an outside wide receiver. I don't know what to say. If you want to keep a team honest, you got to basically balance it out. You know what I mean? And I look at the 2014 Dragons, they don't balance it out. They're just run left, run right. You know what I mean? They rely a lot on 2 players. You can't do that in this league. I mean, like, you can't survive in this league when you basically are, when you're just basically saying is that, you're putting, you got a big line, you know what I mean? Your strength is your offensive line, you know what I mean? And you got a very good running back. If you develop that deep threat, if you could develop that deep threat, look at the 2012 Dragons. I mean, like, you look at that team. They had a deep threat in Chaz Miller. You know what I mean? I'm surprised, you know what I mean, that you don't see players. You got some tall players on there, but it's just using the outside. I think that would make perfect sense. I mean, like, but, I would like to see this offense, especially next year, you know what I mean, keep things more balanced. I think that this is going to be a balanced group next year. I would even move some defensive players, to have them play offense, you know what I mean? Take some pressure off some people. I mean, that's what I think should happen. I mean, but this is my opinion, you know what I mean? I don't speak for the coaches or anything. But, but I think when you look at this team next year for sure, this team, Lake Orion's got to develop a wide receiver game, to balance out the running game. You're going to have a very strong line next year. Your defense will be much better than than this year. But when you look at this situation, then of course when you look at the playoffs, you know what I mean? The playoffs, Lake Orion is in danger to miss the playoffs the first time since 2000. I don't know if this group truly deserves the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, like, this is a team, in my opinion, that they've lost 2 tough games. They played Clarkson, one of the top teams of the state, and also but in West Bloomfield, they've been a very huge surprise this year. I mean, but when I look at this team, does this team deserve playoffs? I'm gonna be honest with you, no, because you look at the schedule that they played, it's tough. The schedule's tough, but they do get in. They do get in 5-4. They'll earn it. They'll likely play their Clarksville appear in the playoffs. But when I look at the playoff point scenario, there's a lot of teams like Orion's got to jump. If they want to win, and that's not even counting beating Adams. You know what I mean? I think when you look at this game here, when you look at the season it has had, it's been rough. It's been very, very tough. Especially from an alumni standpoint, seeing those traditional teams. You know what I mean? They play, they get ready to play. They were fast, physical. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, like they knew their coverages, they knew their assignments. You know what I mean? But this team here, I can't figure this team out. It was like 2013 all over again for this defense. In the 2013 year, Orion benefited because their offense was very good. Even though they didn't have even though they had much of a passing game, because of the fact that I still think Connor Grant should have played defense all year and not have him play quarterback. But I still think I think the quarterback system, the 1-year experiment's been a disaster for this team. I think when I look at the last few years, ever since Sean Charette left, it has not been the same. Derek DeLore had a heck of a 2012 season. But he was a 1-year guy. But he was a heck of a quarterback, for that team. He was a perfect quarterback for this team that year in 2012. And then of course you go into Connor Grant, quarterback. He's also played your linebacker, and that is, I don't understand why would you normally have 85, 90 kids on a team. You know what I mean? Use them. You don't have to move up some sophomores. You don't have to move them up. Let them play a year with their class. That's what I think. When looking at it, as an alumni, I've been so baffled by this team this season. You know what I mean? I've been more disappointed, you know what I mean, in this team than I've had in years past. You know what I mean? And I played on teams that were not. And I've seen teams that were very good, and there were teams that are not very good. Usually at Lake Orion, if your team finished 6-3, that was not a good year. But then again, probably 2007 was the exception. You know what I mean? Whereas Lake Orion, of course, lost Chris Lum, and Ryan Broad came into the program. But I'm just saying right now is that I think being on an honest point, it may be it's gonna be tough for me to say this for the seniors, but I think this may be I mean, like, but I think when you look at it here, I mean, like, if Lake Orion does miss the playoffs, it's going to motivate them all winter and all spring long, all summer long to make sure that you get back to where Lake Orion football needs to be. And right now, this is not where Lake Orion football needs to be right now. And I think it's a huge program issue. It starts with the middle schools. You got to get back to what Lake Orion football stands for. And that is hard-nosed, physicality. You can't be finesse, you know what I mean? Because I think you still got some good speedsters. You can be finesse, but you got to get back to the what made Lake Orion football. What made it be that way? And right now, by the looks of it, and especially in the last 2 seasons, it has not been Lake Orion football, especially in the defensive side of the football. And that is mind-boggling. I played defense, you know what I mean? It was one of my, I was a defensive lineman, you know what I mean? And we took so much pride on our defense. And to see that this defense is giving up chunk plays, yard plays, too easy, every easy play you can think of, and they're giving up that. Don't give me the excuse they're young. You know what I mean? They'll miss assignments and all that, but still, you got enough leadership on this team that can carry the load for you, and of course, also your coaches are not on the field. You know what I mean? Like you're not on the field. You know what I mean? They're not playing it. You know what I mean? They're coaching it. They're giving you expertise, and that's a disappointment right there. And it's unfortunate to see right now. I think this is the dark days are right now in Lake Orion, and if this team misses the playoffs for a year, they're going to be the first team, and especially this senior class, probably the first team in history to miss the playoffs for the first time since 2000, and there's going to be a lot of questions. You know what I mean? Like I know Dragon coach Chris Bell's gotten a lot of criticism about this season, and I think everybody's got to be held accountable. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to be held accountable. You know what I mean? Plans, players, alumni. I think when I look at Lake Orion, I think Lake Orion's gotten spoiled. Because you kind of use the expectation to make the playoffs. But when I look at it right now, players are not a given. They're not. And by the looks of it right now, it's not looking good for this team to make the playoffs. If Lake Orion somehow makes the playoffs, it'll be very interesting. You know what I mean? Do I think they can make? I like them on them. I do like them against Adams, but I don't know if they have enough to make the postseason. And especially with all the teams that they've got to catch and hope to basically win. You look at if Romeo would beat, if Eisenhower, if Romeo beats Eisenhower this weekend, I think both those teams get in. Ike's got very high playoff points. Romeo, of course, are at 66-6. It's a tough situation for this team. It's a very tough situation when I look at it for Lake Orion to get in. If they get in the playoffs, you know what I mean? It'll be a very, very interesting week. It's like a whole new clean slate start. If they don't get in the playoffs, then there's going to be a lot of questions lingering around this program. What will this program do next year? That's a question. You know what I mean? Do they need to change an identity? I look at it here, and it's, be honest with you, if you really want my opinion on the identity of Lake Orion, next year, I think they need to change their identity because, they need to go back to the physical, what made them a very good football team, and that was physicality up front, physicality on defense. What they're known for is defense, and that's something that they got to start next year. You know what I mean? Heck, even I would change the uniforms if I were them, because this clearly new uniform design by Nike has not worked out. I think they need to go. I looked at a suggestion. You know what I mean? I made a couple suggestions to some other kids, and I said, well, what jersey would probably fit Lake Orion the best? And that would be the University of Oklahoma. Of course, this team was known as the Green Oklahoma. Oklahoma's had a couple down years, but when I look at a jersey design for this team, I think a perfect jersey design for this team would be the Oklahoma alternate jerseys where you had the green V-necks. You know what I mean? It's like a same Nike design, except you font in the dragon fighting the Lake Orion on the road whites, and then you put the name Dragons on the greens. I think that would make perfect sense. That would be the perfect design. I think that would be the start of a new identity in Lake Orion. I think this team needs an identity, a new identity, especially with the start of next year. And that's just my own opinion. Now I know there's gonna be people that's gonna be they're gonna disagree with me, but I think that's where I think that this team really needs to go is basically just start over from scratch and basically just look at if they do miss the playoffs, you know what I mean? There is clearly a problem right now with the Dragon program, and I think it can be fixed. You got the right people in place that can fix it, but it's going to take some time, you know what I mean? It might have to take a full off season or maybe even missing the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. It's an unfortunate situation for the seniors, but it is what it is. And if Lake Orion can somehow get in the playoffs at 5-4, you know what I mean? They get another week, you know what I mean? You just got to win and pray if you're Lake Orion. That's all you got to do is you got to win and pray. Okay, now when we come back, we're going to go over my projections for this week 9 games. Of course, a lot of interesting games around the area coming up here for OAA teams here on OAA Now.
Prescription drug abuse is a national epidemic. The new in way to obtain drugs is through parents' or grandparents' medicine chests. Removing prescriptions from your cabinet is the best way to keep drugs out of the hands of our young people. We've got to work together to protect our teens, our seniors, and our environment. Clean out your medicine cabinet today. Please participate in Operation Medicine Cabinet and drop off your unwanted or expired prescriptions at one of our law enforcement drop-off sites in Oakland County. We can't ignore this situation anymore.
Welcome back to OAA Now. Of course, I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger of the Dragon's Den and one of the hosts of Between Taorminas here on ON TV. I'd like to thank the studio for giving me the opportunity to do my podcast here. Also, we're going to go over next week. We're going to go over volleyball previews for coming up on Tuesday, next Tuesday. But we'll see what happens there. Got volleyball in 2 weeks. We're going to have a live podcast from Lake Orion High School. That's where one of the district's matches are at. Of course, you're truly be calling that game, calling those district games. You got Stony Creek and Rochester Adams playing each other, with that winner playing Clarkson, and you got Lake Orion playing Rochester, with that winner playing Oxford. So that'll be a fun district right there. But let's go back to football. Of course, on week 9 of last full regular season games of the year. A lot of unique games, a lot of intriguing games. Pontiac, of course, they were blown out 54-7 last week. They don't have a week 9 game. If they do find one, I'll find out about it. But they don't have a week 9 game, and it's unfortunate for Pontiac. You know what I mean? But it'll get them ready to go for basketball season, especially in the boys. They're in a very vicious division, the white. But if they do find a game, I think it'll be a good idea for Pontiac to play. You know what I mean? I think Pontiac deserves that opportunity to play. Another game. But back to got first game we're gonna mention here, of course, is a lot of blue games. You know what I mean? Coming up. When I look at the first game we're going to go over is Hazel Park and Grosse Ile. Grosse Ile 6-2 coming in. This is a very good team that they have this year. It's going to be a very tough matchup for Kyle Rowley to deal with in his Viking finale. I just think Hazel Park's going to go 0-9 this week. I mean, I like Grosse Ile in this game to blow out Hazel Park. I mean, it's a tough year for Kyle Rowley, especially in year 1. You can't have your program fixed right away. It's got to take time to do that. I remember the days of Sylvester Crew when he was at Mississippi State. I mean, he had to build his program from scratch virtually in Starksville. And of course, everybody knew what happened in 2007. I think this is a year process for Kyle Rowley and his Viking team. I mean, but he'll have his team on the right track, especially year two. I think it'll get some progress, and then years 3 and 4, I think, could be the turning point for this Viking program. Next thing we're going to mention here, of course, is Berkeley and Dearborn Heights Robichaud. Robichaud comes in, they're not a good team, but it's a tough match for Berkeley because, Berkeley came off a very upsetting loss to Southfield Lathrop last week, 2017. When I look at Berkeley, playoff opportunities, it's very dangerous. If they don't win this game, I don't think they get a home game. It'd be interesting for them if they do get a home game. I don't think they deserve one, especially the way they played against Southfield Lathrop. But we'll see what Chris Sequoia does. I'm going Berkeley over Dearborn Heights Robichaud. I just think that looking at this game, Berkeley will find a way to bounce back. They were embarrassed last week, and I don't think that's going to happen again. And of course, it's going to be tough in Division II this year for Berkeley when they get in the playoffs. Next thing we're going to mention here is Ferndale and Almont. Almont ranked number 3 in Division 5. It's a tough match for Ferndale. And Eric Lloyd, he's had a heck of a year. They're 4-4. I don't think they're going to get in this year week. Even if they do win, it'll be huge if they win. I don't think they're going to win. It's a tough match for Ferndale, especially going up to Lapeer County and going up to Almont. I like Almont in this game to knock off Ferndale, but it'll be close. I think it's going to be much closer than the experts think in that game, but it is what it is. I like Almont in that game. Ferndale's had a heck of a season. They're going to be good again next year. It wouldn't surprise me next year. Ferndale is going to make some noise next year in the blue. Next game we're going to mention here is Troy Athens, North Farmington. It's a battle. It's an underrated matchup when I look at Troy Athens and North Farmington. North Farmington had a really tough year. They've got some experience. This will be. But for Troy Athens, this is a unique matchup here too. Alice Massad's playing his final game. Also, when you look at Troy Athens, this is a unique matchup here for the Red Hawks. I do like Troy Athens to go to North Farmington and win this game. I just think that the Red Hawks are, I think they're better, they're more rounded, especially heading in the offseason. North Farmington, of course, they're going to give it everything they got in the line. But in the end, I just think that North Farmington, I just think in the end, Troy Athens will be too much for the North Farmington, especially with how they handle it and how Athens will go into the offseason. They're really gonna be getting ready for next year. Of course, I think they're gonna be all right. You know what I mean? I think that they're gonna be on the right track. Next game we're gonna mention here is the last game for Nate Emery, Bloomfield Hills against Birmingham Seaholm. Seaholm, rough year this year in the white. Same for Bloomfield Hills. They're rough year in the red. When I look at this game, no doubt it's a unique matchup. I think the difference this game's quarterback play. Of course, Tommy Shepard. It's Tommy Shepard against Bloomfield Hills' defense. I think he's gonna have a huge game. I think that Nate Emery's gonna have a huge game. This game's gonna be a shootout. I like Bloomfield Hills to knock off but then again, in the end, take the back. I like Seaholm to knock off Bloomfield Hills, but I think because Tommy Shepard's going to be a huge game against that Black Hawk defense, and we'll see what happens there. In the end, though, I like Seaholm. I like Seaholm to knock off Bloomfield Hills. It'd be an interesting offseason for the Maples and Jim DeWald. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there. Next game here we're going to mention here is it's a big one for Southfield Lathrop against Westland John Glenn. Westland John Glenn, 5-3, 60.8 right now in the playoffs. They're probably going to be favored in this match with Southfield Lathrop, but Lathrop has proven they can go in and beat some teams. Last week nobody expected them to beat Berkeley the way they did, and and the game's at Lathrop Village, so it's going to be an interesting trip for Westland John Glenn to come from Westland to Southfield to Lathrop Village. I'm going to take the Chargers in this game because I just think, they got some good athletes over there at Westland John Glenn. They're big. They're talented, yes. But I just think with the play of Keith Stevens right now, he's playing right now, I just think in the end it's going to be too much Reggie Harris and the Lathrop offense led by their quarterback. I think he's going to have a huge day against Westland John Glenn. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to have a huge, huge game. No doubt about that. Of course, I mentioned Hazel Park Grosse Eel already. I'm going to go Grosse Eel over Hazel Park. Next game is going to be interesting. It's the Battle of Rochester. Stony Creek against Rochester, of course. Tough season for Coach Brad Zuby and his Cougars. But they're going to go on the high note here. I think they're going to win this game and blow out Rochester. It's been a miserable year for Eric Vernon and his crew. A 1-7 season, likely going to be 1-8 to close out the year. I think Stony Creek's going to beat Rochester and pretty handily. in that one. Next match we're going to mention here is Troy and Royal Oak, of course, the Colts and the Ravens, of course. This is a battle of two different identities here. In the end here, I like the Colts to knock off the Ravens because I think Troy's got a better running game than Royal Oak. But this game will be close, but I just think right now, looking at this game, I think Troy's the more better rounded than Royal Oak. Royal Oak has been a miserable season for first-year coach Tim Chapman, but if there's one thing that you got to take out of his crew, it is that they won't give up, and I think they're going to give Troy everything they can handle in that one, but I just think too much Troy in that game. Of course, we're going to get to the ranking games here. First up is Lake Orion, Rochester, Adams, a battle of 2 4-4 teams. Adams has won 2 straight games. Lake Orion has, they were destroyed last week by Clarkston. It's a tough match it's an interesting match because both pass defenses are awful. It's going to come down a matchup up front. You got to battle very good running backs, and Matt Krause, Clarence Baraklov. Key's going to be quarterback. I think Kyle Wood's the key's Kyle Wood. If Lake Orion's defense can shut down Kyle Wood, I think they'll be all right. When both teams have had injuries also all year, and in the end here, I'm gonna take Lake Orion in this game because I think that they have enough weapons. I think to find a way in this game. It's a tough matchup over at Adams. Adams a very good program. Of course, they're in the same boat as Lake Orion. Whoever sophomores emerge, I think in this game is going to be huge. In this one, I just think that Lake Orion's lineup front is bigger than Adams's. I just think that that's going to be the difference in this game. Interesting matchups coming out of next matchup here is number 9 Groves and Waterford Mott. Of course, Adams was ranked number 10 in the Dragons' Den poll, but Groves and Mott's very interesting. Waterford Mott's a team, they got 69.7 right now. It's a big game for them. Groves has lost 2 straight games, but when I look at this game here, for the Falcons, this is a bounce back game for Birmingham Grove, for Beverly Hills Woolly Groves. This is what Groves needs. For Waterford Mott, they've been struggling. They got a very good quarterback in Nate Crum, who's a very good athlete. Waterford Mott's had a really nice year. Let's not forget, they've had a nice year. They can score on people. But when I look at this game, I think it's Groves is being at home. I think the Falcons are going to find a way and break this streak that they've been on. They're going to go in the playoffs on a high note and leave Waterford Mott possibly trying to get into the playoffs. Even if they lose at 5-4, that's a good matchup here. I like Groves over Mott in that game. Next matchup here, speaking of Waterford schools, you got Waterford Kettering against Avondale. Kettering looked awful last week against them in their loss. They had a couple guys thrown out in that game. When I look at Avondale, of course, they blew up Pontiac 54-7. That was probably expected. But I like Avondale in this match because of Josh Hallman, excuse me. And also quarterback plays huge. Travis James has had a nice year, but I think the difference is going to be Josh Hallman against that Kettering front stud, against that Kettering defense. I just think that Avondale right now they're trying to get in the playoffs, and this is a big game for them to sit at 5. They sit at 5-3. I think Avondale will get in the playoffs and beat Waterford Kettering, this week. And next game we're going to mention here is number 5 Farmington and Walled Lake Central. The Falcons, the blue champions that they've won, they should be really in the white. I think they will be in the white next year. We're playing the Vikings. It's probably going to be their toughest game since they played Harrison week 1, and they failed that test miserably. Walled Lake Central, very good team. Vikings, known for their defense. They're going to get ready. I think they're going to be Division I for the playoffs. When I look at this game here, it's in Walled Lake. I'm going to go with the Vikings in this game over Farmington because I just think right now that the schedule has really hurt Farmington. The teams they played have hurt them. They're probably, us playing Harrison, early in the year might help them here. But I just think that Walled Lake Central, they play in a tougher division. The KLA North is a tougher division, though, than the OA Blue. Walled Lake Central played tough teams like Waterford Mott, Waterford Kettering, Walled Lake Western, Walled Lake Northern. And those teams basically, I think are better than the teams that Farmington has played. I like the Vikings to pull off in that one. That leaves 3 games left, and that'll be very interesting. First matchup is number 7 Oxford, number 6 Oak Park. The Wildcats, you know what I mean? They're 8-0 all time against Oak Park. I'll bet you that senior class at Oak Park is sick and tired of hearing that they've lost to Oxford the last 2 seasons, you know what I mean, under Greg Carter. Ever since that this group's came together, I think they're going to find a way. I like Oak Park to knock off Oxford in this game. I mean, Oxford's got a very good quarterback, very good power offense. It's going to be a close game, but I just think Oak Park right now, with the way that they're playing, you know, they're coming off a very emotional loss to Southfield 2016, and this was that time of the year when Oak Park really struggled. Remember last year they lost to Oxford and they lost to Lake Orion. I mean, I just think right now that Oak Park's going to learn from this. I think that the Knights are going to find a way and win this game in Night Valley. Likely it's going to be a very unique game. I like Oak Park in that game. Next matchup we're going to mention here is West Bloomfield, number 2 in the Den poll, and number 4 Southfield. Southfield, big win last week over Oak Park. They got a very athletic secondary. It's going to be key. The keys in this game is going to be Michael King and Tristan Jackson. If Jackson can somehow find a way to do well, you know, and the keys also Eddie Wilson in this one here. It's a tough match for me to pick, but if there's one thing I like about I'm gonna look at this game here. I'm gonna pick the upset here. I'm gonna pick Southfield over West Bloomfield because sorry, my friends at West Bloomfield, but I just think right now that Division I backfield, you know, depth's going to be a huge problem in this game. It's going to be a highly entertaining game. I expect a 60-57 game. I mean, but the key is Southfield could find a way, you know, offensively to get some points. You know, I think right now Southfield's playing a more brutal schedule than West Bloomfield, but I think there's no doubt in my mind that that both these teams are going to be motivated. I think West Bloomfield's their sleeper in Division I for the playoffs. I mean, but you know, it's going to be a close game. I'd like Southfield in that game over West Bloomfield, only by a teeny little field goal. And the last game we're going to mention is Clarkston and number 1 Clarkston, number 3 Farmington with Harrison. Bad match for Harrison. Looking at it like that, the Hawks have been a very good team, you know, but this was a bad match to start with Clarkston. I mean, they had a nice win over Southfield in triple overtime. I think right now Clarkston another stratosphere right now. I mean, especially with their passing attacks, one of the best in the state right now. DJ Zazula is going to have a heck of a game, but he's got he's going up against one of the best coaching minds in John Harrington. I just think Clarkson's going to win this game. I think they're going to win it by 3 scores, and it'll be tough for Javon Shaw, especially go up against that defense. I mean, Clarkson's got the run. I mean, they got the quarterback play. They got They got a good line. I mean, but they definitely got the lethal passing game, and I just think it's going to be too much Clarkson to knock off Farmington Hills Harrison in that one. It's going to be an interesting game. Okay, we got playoff ideas here. I mean, in other games, I'm taking Romeo over. I'm taking Eisenhower Romeo. I like Northville Grand Blanc, you know, and then I like Rockford over West Ottawa. A lot of interesting games, you know what I mean, to see. We'll keep an eye on the playoff situation. We'll go over that with the previews of each OA team in the playoffs coming up. Also in soccer, of course, Oxford plays Clarkston. I like Oxford over Clarkston, that one. Adams, Traverse City West, I like Adams over Traverse City Central, correction. Of course, Adams, of course, Troy Athens also in it, and also Bloomfield Hills is still in it. Not sure what their matchups are yet. Those two play each other. They're probably in the same region. It wouldn't surprise me if Athens and Bloomfield Hills will play each other in regional action. You know, if they do that, I'm gonna pick Athens over them. I'll actually take I'm gonna take Bloomfield Hills over Athens. I think Bloomfield Hills has got a very strong chance to get back to the state finals. But it'll be an interesting game for soccer. But and of course, got the swim meet coming up in a few weeks. And then, of course, you got the start of winter sports coming up soon, especially starting up in December. So we'll see what happens coming up there, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, heading into the final week of the regular season, you know. I mean, but we'll see what happens. Okay. Of course, this is Sammy Taormina here. I'm gonna sign off for tonight's action, and Also for volleyball, of course, we go over our volleyball district preview coming up next week. And I'm going to sign off here, and good night, everybody.
OAA Now is produced at Orion Neighborhood Television, Lake Orion's community media outlet. To learn more about ONTV, visit our website at www.orionontv.org or call us at 248-393-1060.